All right, next thing. Nancy Pelosi, insider trading. So apparently, people in Congress are trading on things that they shouldn't be. They are, to my understanding, when you're in Congress, you're not supposed to trade on stocks yourself, but your family can, your spouse can, your dependent children can. They just have to disclose that information. And people in Congress have been forgetting lately to disclose a lot of things. It just slipped their mind that they made $400K on Facebook. They just forgot to report it. And look, I want to believe them. I don't know. I don't know what happened. You know, when you make $200K a year in Congress and you make $500K on a single trade, sometimes you just forget. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot I told my husband to buy Facebook before we put this law into effect. The only knowledge, the only specific knowledge that I had as a member of I just forgot. I tell my husband a lot of things. Sometimes I just talk about Facebook and I say, you know what, babe, you may want to buy this, you may not. This law is going into effect tomorrow, or I know this isn't going to pass. Just, make a few trades, make some things happen. Make it happen. And sometimes they do, and people forget to report it. It happens. Sometime, in the future, maybe I'll forget that I have $5 million in Bitcoin just chilling in my account, which I don't. That would be amazing. But let's say I did. Sometimes, when the IRS starts coming after cryptocurrency and they want people to report capital gains, I might forget that I turn $5 million of Bitcoin into cash. Sometimes those things just slip your mind. They just go out of your mind sometimes. And you're not always in control of what happens. So Nancy Pelosi was questioned about this insider trading report. I believe it was from Business Insider. And there were 180 something people in Congress who just broke the Stock Act. They broke the law, didn't report their earnings. They had their spouses buy stocks, their children buy stock. They put it in other people's names so it's ready for them when they step out of Congress. And this is the interaction that went down. So let's load this up. Let's get this pony going. Dun dun. Alrighty.
Madam Speaker, Insider just completed a 5-month investigation.
All right.
Insider just completed a 5-month investigation finding that 49 members of Congress and 182 senior congressional staffers have violated the Stock Act.
So it's a little bit fuzzy. This guy's saying, bunch of people in Congress, 180 plus people violated the Stock Act.
The insider trading law. I'm wondering if you have any reaction to that. And secondly, should members of Congress and their spouses be banned from trading individual stocks while serving?
So the guy says, do you have any reaction to that? And should members of Congress be banned from trading individual stocks?
No, I don't know to the second one. We have a responsibility to report in the stock, on the stock, but I'm not familiar with that 5-month review, but if people aren't reporting, they should be. Because this is a free market and we are a free market economy. They should be able to participate in that.
So I love this response from Pelosi. I love this response from Pelosi because this is like when a frat bro tries to explain anything in finance. Like he's read one article on cryptocurrency and he's trying to convince you to get hard into Bitcoin. And it may be a good decision to do that. But that frat bro doesn't know. And you're just like, why is Bitcoin, why should I get into Bitcoin? And he's just like, dude, free market economy, yo. Free market. Like he'll just start using all these basic, like very vague phrases. Free market. People, you have to self-actualize in the free market. And everything nowadays, nothing is tied to assets, to assets in the real world. Everything is a digital landscape, and portfolios are being built. Real estate's being built in the metaverse. You have to use this free market and transform your knowledge of free market in the real world into the metaverse and cryptocurrency, because that is when you're really free. You are not free until you are saved by Mark Zuckerberg and you then rise into the metaverse. Look, your decisions have gotten you crucified, and you should be, because you're terrible at making decisions with your money. You're terrible at managing your portfolio, but you can rise again on the third day. Just rise into the metaverse, because it's a free market, and crypto and Bitcoin will set you free. And I love Pelosi's just like, this is a super direct question. And Pelosi's just goes straight to that frat bro vocabulary. She's like, dude, free market, bro. Free market. It's free. It's a free market. And she's not wrong. But by the way, Pelosi is not wrong. For members of Congress, it is literally it's about as close to a free market. And I don't mean free market in the sense of everyone having equal opportunity. I mean free in terms of cost of investing and getting caught breaking the law. It's as close to free as you can get as a member of Congress. Apparently, we're gonna get into the insider report in a little bit, but apparently, if you break the Stock Act, so let's say you're enacting as a member of Congress, some law is gonna pass that will make Facebook more popular, let's say the metaverse more popular, and this, and people in Congress are the only ones with knowledge of this, and you invest $500K in Facebook, or you have your husband invest $500K in Facebook, or your daughter, and so you keep the money in the family, and you don't disclose that. The fine for that, in most cases, is $200, or an internal ethics committee settles it in Congress, which most of the time results in nothing. They just kind of slap it away. They're like, what, $500K, wearing $400K trillion in debt. Who gives a shit? Just free market, bro. Have Congress do whatever they want. It's literally free. Like, how can you set people up in Congress to make financial decisions that are going to be in accordance with the law, when the penalty for making enormous sums of money for their family that they can just take over when they're out of Congress? People are voting on so many laws, and they're constantly dealing with people in tech and people in health, people in every industry, oil, gas. Like, people are constantly at your door saying, we need this to pass. We don't want this to pass. Oh, by the way, if this passes and you invest in this, you'll make $2 million, and you'll have a nice little nest egg when you come out of Congress. When your penalty for breaking that is $200, how can you? I wouldn't follow that. Would anyone follow that? Like, that you can make millions of dollars, and an internal ethics committee will slap you on the wrist or give you a $200 fine. Like, that is like if the crime, or that is like if the punishment for pedophilia was you had to do 25 push-ups. Like, sure, that's going to stop some pedophiles that are in horrible shape, but most of them are going to keep banging kids in the butt, because they're just going to get in a little bit better shape if they couldn't do push-ups. And if they get caught screwing a kid, they're just going to get a slap on the wrist, bang out 25 push-ups, and do exactly, go back to exactly what they're doing. And they might be in better shape. It might make their lives better. They're like, hey, because of this, not only am I a pedophile, but now I'm a pedophile that's looking good, feeling good. My life is healthy. And so what? I fuck a kid every few weeks. It's fine. It's fine. That's literally the level of punishment. Absurd that you can make millions of dollars on a trade, not declare it, and they're just like, well, look, we take this Stock Act very seriously. You are contributing to the mass untrustworthiness of people in this country, members in Congress. You are leveraging information that no one else has to make enormous sums of money. You are sucking the cocks of people in the tech industry and oil and gas, and you're doing whatever they want because you're just going to make your own money and take a job in that industry after you're out of Congress. And for literally tearing the infrastructure of this economy apart bit by bit, that's $200. That's $200 motherfucking dollars, bitch. And you better pay up right now. I'd be like, I'll give you $200K. Because I just made $500. So fucking take some for yourself and shut the fuck up. Like, I'll give you $200K right now just so I don't have to sit in this meeting ever again with you berating me for making trades. Like, I'll pay off my breaking the law ahead of time. Like, I wouldn't doubt if people in Congress are like, listen, I know the penalty is $200 and we have to meet every time I break the Stock Act, but what if I just pay you up front like $10K? Because I don't even want to deal with this. This is such a nuisance. Of course I'm going to break the law. Of course. Why the fuck would I be in Congress right now if I wasn't in it to get rich? So yeah, let's get into it. So this is on businessinsider.com. Title of the article is at least 182 high-ranking congressional staffers have violated a federal conflict of interest law with overdue disclosure of their personal stock trades. And here's what they're saying. At least 182 of Capitol Hill's most influential and highest paid staffers have blown past deadlines to detail and disclose their personal stock trades, violating a federal conflict of interest law in the process, an insider analysis of congressional financial documents reveals. Insiders' tally includes aides in both the House and the Senate with high-ranking jobs such as chiefs of staff, legislative directors, communication directors, and also among them are workers known as professional staff members who serve on congressional committees. That's why a law President Obama signed almost a decade ago obligated senior staff to disclose their stock trades just as lawmakers do. The 182-person finding is part of Insider's exhaustive Conflicted Congress project, in which journalists reviewed nearly 9,000 financial disclosure reports for every sitting lawmaker and their top-ranking staffers. Watchdog groups say the sheer number of late filings is evidence of far too lax attitude on Capitol Hill about ethics rules. All right, so let's get into... They give some numbers here. All right, so stock trades exceeding 1,000 from senior congressional staffers, their spouses, or any dependent children are supposed to be a matter of public record, because this is what a lot of them do. They can't invest in it personally, but they will have their family members do it or their children do it, and it's not in their name, but you can connect the dots. And then, let's see. So it goes into the penalties. The penalties that you will get if you break this act. So let's get into that a little bit. So Senator Tim Kaine, a Democrat of Virginia, who was Hillary Clinton's 2016 vice presidential running mate, serves on the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, which has the power to regulate the healthcare industry and oversees government healthcare programs. Henry's highest Vertex sale was valued at $50,001 to $100,000. He told the Insider the Senate Ethics Committee informed him that he'd forgotten to file a disclosure about it. So he was making trades or selling stocks, $50K to $100K. He said that he paid a fine. The standard late filing penalty is $200, but that the committee didn't give him a receipt. In response to this, he said, "I will certainly work harder to avoid such oversights in the future, as disclosing information like this is important to me." No, it's not. Like, we should just stop doing this charade where we pretend that people in Congress are going to comply with these bullshit trading laws because you have so much information available to you. Imagine if you had buckets and buckets and buckets of insider information on stocks, and you talk about details that change the way the market reacts and plays out every single day, and then there's some agreement with the penalty of $200 that says, by the way, if you use any of this information to trade illegally or in your family's name, you can't do that. It goes against human nature. If you tell me, you know, not to take steroids and compete in the UFC, but there's all this access to steroids, like all my training mates are taking it. It's so easy to get. I can make it part of my routine. It's not that hard to get caught. And by the way, if I get caught taking steroids, all I have to do is pay a couple $100 and I can just keep doing what I'm doing, especially if you have all that money. $200 is literally like a speck of dust to someone in Congress. We should just stop doing this charade where we pretend that people in Congress are going to be able to ignore the massive amounts of information that cross their desk on a daily basis. And there's only two ways, the way I see it, to move forward. You either have to make it illegal for people in Congress to trade on any stocks, or you just give them a shit ton of money and make people in Congress billionaires before they get into Congress. Like if you're elected, you give a member of Congress, let's say $20 million. And you say, okay, you're rich now. You were elected into Congress. Your net worth is now $25 million. Now do your fucking job. And you're not allowed to trade anymore. You won't have people, because we live in a financial world. We live in a capitalist society. Like it's so easy to leverage people's intentions and people's decision-making ability in Congress by trying to persuade them with money. The enticement of making more money is so fucking great that we can't expect human beings, because people in Congress are human. Despite the amount of evidence that shows the contrary, people in Congress are still human. And if they have all this fucking information, of course they're going to act on it. You'd be stupid not to act on it when the fine is that small. If you could make money for your family, generational wealth, by trading on information that no one else has, why the fuck wouldn't you? So make these people rich. Either make it illegal, or just say, okay, you're elected. Here's $25 million. You're not allowed to trade on stocks, but we're giving you this money ahead of time so that you do your fucking job and you don't make backdoor deals with people. You don't vote laws into effect for your own interests. You don't have a portfolio. You're not getting rich by putting certain laws into effect. You're not getting poorer by putting certain laws into effect. You have this money already. So do your fucking job, or you're not allowed to trade at all. But like by getting into Congress, you are giving up your right to trade on the quote unquote free market, because it's only a free market to the people in Congress. It's free in the sense that there's zero consequences, financially or legally, almost zero consequences. Because let's be honest, $200 is zero when we're talking about people like this. So something has to change. I don't know what that change will be. I'm people much smarter than me that are working on these problems right now, but let's make it illegal or let's make them filthy rich. But there's no in between, because you're either going to try to get rich or you're going to break the law and go to jail. You need something. You can't just allow people to have access to this information that will make them fucking filthy rich, make the penalty zero, and expect them to act in the public's best interest, because they're servants. You're a public servant as a member of Congress. People forget that. Like you're electing someone to serve the public, you and me and your neighbor, and you Congress is set up now to serve yourself and get rich and write a book and get a house in Nantucket and sail off into the sunset. You're not a public servant anymore. If you it shouldn't, like, you shouldn't get famous from being in Congress, because that's attracting the wrong type of people. You're attracting people that have their own brand and want to make master classes and workout videos and write books and get filthy rich at jobs after they get out of Congress and get paid $2 million to do a fucking speaking tour. That's all good and well, but like, don't be in Congress then. Like, I'm not against making money. I'm not against people. I love podcasting because I love the act of doing it and formulating ideas, but I also think about ways to make money. And you will make money in Congress through getting paid a salary and maybe some other things too. But if you allow people to get filthy fucking rich in Congress without consequence, you're only going to attract people who want to do that and who want to build their personal brands and use Congress for themselves to say, what can I get? How can I? And that's fine. You should be able to build your own brand. You should be able to make your own product. If people want to pay you $1 million to speak for 30 minutes in a fucking conference room, that's fine. Take the money, but don't be in Congress. These people shouldn't be allowed to be in Congress. Being in Congress should be people that are much better than me, because I'm selfishly recording this podcast for my own gain. I'm not a public servant. People in Congress are public servants. They serve the public. These should be good people, the best people in our country, and they're fucking not. So something has to change. The last thing that I want to get into is Amazon. I mentioned